Welcome back. Today's Friday, August the 15th, and you know what time it is. It's Friday, and we're back at the Women's Lounge. We're talking about all the issues that affect women. I'm your host, Emiliana Guereca. First up, we're going to speak about the Secretary of Defense. What a week. So the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, or Whiskey Pete, as I call him, had to clarify that yes, he believes that women should have the right to vote. Why did he have to clarify? Well, he reposted a CNN segment featuring a pastor who openly supports repealing the 19th Amendment, the very amendment that women fought for, the very amendment that earned us the right to vote. His vision, the pastor's vision, is household voting, where the man decides for everyone. This is the same pastor that asks women to submit to their men. We'll see about that. We know that's not happening. So the Pentagon rushed to say, of course, Pete supports women voting. But let's be real. We've got a problem. When powerful men amplify the voices that dream of undoing women's rights, it's not by accident. It's a warning, and we should all be paying attention to that. Women fought for the right to vote. We weren't given the right to vote. We're not given anything. Leaders start to normalize the idea of taking women's rights away, the idea of taking rights away in general. It's a full stop, period. Leave them when they say that they want to take our rights away. We know that we lost reproductive rights in 2022 as they told us for decades that this is what they wanted to take away. We're going to believe them, and we're going to keep watching that issue. As you know, they are really gearing up to make sure that women are silenced. We're not going to let that happen. Next up, on the Women's Rights Watch, we're talking about, again, the immigrants' rights as it pertains to women in detention, as it pertains to women that are being held in detention with no criminal record, women that are being held in unsafe conditions. So our senator in Georgia, Senator Jon Ossoff, has spent months investigating what is going on in the detention centers, and what he has uncovered and is exposing is over 500 credible reports of human rights abuse of women and children in immigration custody. As you know, the cruelty has ramped up beyond just Los Angeles, beyond New York, beyond Chicago. So we are seeing more violations. This includes 41 cases of physical or sexual abuse, 18 cases of mistreatment of children, and 14 cases involving pregnant women. Some women are reporting that they were forced to sleep on floors, denied medical care, told to just drink water, basically suck it up instead of getting them the proper care or getting a checkup. One woman in particular, she miscarried. She miscarried after waiting for days for medical attention, but was also sent back a day after miscarrying. So she described horrific conditions, overcrowding and inadequate food, abusive guards, and weeks long to see a doctor. Weeks long, you heard that correct. So they are holding people without due process for weeks at this point, in crowded conditions and unsafe conditions. We don't know what their status is or what their record is. What we do know is that the conditions they are being held in are unsafe. The Department of Homeland Security says that these allegations are false. If they are false and these conditions are okay, then why is it that they refuse to let elected officials visit these detention centers, these holding centers as they're calling them? The realistic part is that we know that there are human rights violations happening. We know that due process is not being followed, and we No, they have changed the rules all around. At this point, they are asking congressional members to give them a 72-hour advance notice in order for them to visit. What does that mean? It truly means that they need time to clean up the mess that they have, to sanitize and whitewash what is truly happening at these locations. Detention centers, they're calling them not detention centers, they're called processing centers. They are not processing centers. They are detention centers. They are made to break down these folks, to intimidate them, to also sign their rights away, possibly self-deport, but more than anything, it is family separation. It is family separation in a more cruel manner than we saw in 2018. So when we talked about earlier, believe them when they tell you they want to do something, we mean that. In 2018, they were separating families, they were putting kids in cages, and what we're seeing right now is abductions, truly. Family members cannot find family members. They don't know if they've been detained, they don't know if they've been deported, and then they're being held for a long period of time. Not only that, they're being transported out of the states they were detained in, and so family members can't find them. They are being held possibly without their kids, without communication with their family members. And so regardless of immigration status, women's rights, immigrants' rights are human rights. So regardless of what you think about doing it the right way, coming in the right way, it simply is not what is happening. We need immigration reform, but we also need a humane way to treat women that are being held in detention centers. Stay tuned for us working on legislation to make sure that there are rules regarding treatment for women being held, from providing tampons to providing health care for them while they are being held. More than anything, we're fighting to make sure that these women are not trafficked, are not abused, and do not suffer even more trauma than being deported. So stay tuned for that. So next up, we're talking about what is going on as we continue to talk about what's happening with ICE and Department of Homeland Security. As you know, they have billions of dollars. They are taking over everything, honestly. So as the military, we know, was deployed in Los Angeles, now we're looking at the military being deployed in DC and trying to take over the police department in Washington, DC. As of today, it looks like Trump may have to pull that back because, again, it is overreach. It is over militarization, use of force on its citizens. So we are glad that's not going to continue in DC. We know what that looks like being in Los Angeles. And in Los Angeles, yesterday was the first day of school for the LA Unified. So kids were going back to school, but as everyone was thinking about going back to school, they were also thinking about safety routes. They were thinking about how they keep their communities safe. I know that Mayor Bass held a press conference and I was there, and I was glad to be honestly in a room where we see what courage and vision and leadership looks like beyond chaos. So I was glad to see her in that space, because I think she has found this space that is very comfortable for her as being an activist, as being the founder of Community Coalition. You can see that this is an issue, the militarization, ICE in Los Angeles, and the separation of families is something that she understands and knows. So in a week where we saw headlines of chaos and men threatening to roll us back, it's women like Bass that will keep us moving forward. So glad to see that. As we speak, the president is meeting with Putin in Alaska, and I hope that they can talk about a ceasefire, that they can talk about peace, but I'm not holding my breath. I'm with VP Harris when she said that he would get steamrolled. She said this in 2024, and so far, that's what we've been seeing. Hoping the meeting is productive, not holding my breath. I think that the president is going to get steamrolled by Putin, making Ukraine again on the losing end of all of this. We've now lost healthcare, Medicare. We are now paying more for groceries, more for gas. The rollbacks on education, the rollbacks on LGBTQ rights, and the rollbacks for women are nonstop. So not holding my breath for that, but hopefully I'm proven wrong. So coming up, we're talking about Tuesday, August 26th. And that is Women's Equality Day. Yes, it's Tuesday coming up. It's the historic day that marks the certification of the 19th Amendment. And if you don't know what the 19th Amendment is, the 19th Amendment is giving women the right to vote. And we're continuing to fight to keep our rights to vote. So I'm going to ask you to do 3 things on Tuesday, August 26th for Women's Equality Day. I'm going to ask you to continue to advocate for women. I'm going to ask you to tune in. Yes, tune in so we can talk about actions and campaigns that we will be hosting throughout the year to make sure that we continue to stay loud and vocal. I'm going to ask you to continue to resist in any big way or a small way, however you can in your space, to continue to push back on the current regime. I don't think I would ever see the day where people want to be silent because we're scared. I get it. We're scared, but the realistic part is that we have to also continue to hold our elected officials accountable, regardless of party. What is going on is not good for anyone. So realistically, I'm going to ask you to push back, to contact your elected representative, to talk about today is Women's Equality Day. Talk to people about it. Tell them that today marks the day when they certified the 19th Amendment, where it gave the women the right to vote. And we're also very proud that we stand on the shoulders of those women that fought for us, right? And so we're going to continue in that legacy. And speaking of legacy, on a lighter note, Taylor Swift is going to put out a new album. Yes, I'm a Swiftie. The Life of a Showgirl is going to be the new album, and I am ready for it. Yes, ready for it, because the chaos is a lot. The rollbacks are a lot. So I'm ready for a softer summer and making sure that we know summer's not over. If your kiddos are back to school, mine still have about a week to go before they go back to school. They actually go back to school on Tuesday, August 26th. So I'm going to be definitely firing up a second pot of coffee that day, but also thanking teachers for continuing to work through teaching our children and really showing up for them when it matters, because it's not any easier for them. All right, so this coming up week, Women's Equality Day on the 26th, and then of course we're back on Friday with the Women's Lounge podcast. This week, find time to listen to music. Find time to recharge for your soul. Call your elected officials after. Yes. And I'm going to ask again, what's going on with the Epstein files? Keep demanding they release them. Keep demanding for accountability. Keep demanding for justice for the victims. Because again, these were not young women. These were girls. These were minors. Let's not soften this issue around what makes people comfortable. So there's that piece to it. I'm also going to answer a few questions. So one of the questions that was sent to me this week was, are you trying to recreate the man sphere or the bro sphere? The bro sphere is what they called it. And I'm going to say no. I'm going to say there is no recreating the brosphere. The brosphere never went away. It is still here. Women are not in power. Women are not equal. The brosphere, regardless of your party, whether you're a Democrat, an independent, or Republican, the brosphere is around us. And so what we're advocating for is equity and equality. The future should be equal, but we understand and know that we've fallen back. We've lost rights, and we can't kid ourselves about that. So it is not about recreating anything. It is not about any of that. It is about continuing to advocate and staying loud, but also making sure that during this time we are documenting what is happening. Because I don't want to be 80, 90 years old and be asked, what were you doing while this was happening? What were you doing while people were being abducted in the streets? What were you doing when we had a president in office that was a 34 count felon? I want to be able to stand up proud when I'm 90 or 100 and say I fought back. I want to be able to say, not only did I fight back, we changed things. Not only did we do this, but we also made sure to build a better future for our kids. We want a future that is equal. So that is why I'm doing this. I am talking about what we can all do in our little part of the world every single day. So beyond voting, we can document, tell our stories, talk about what is happening so that it does not get rewritten. History is written by those that win. History is written by those in power and not necessarily the people on the ground. So that is part of why we're engaging in the Women's Lounge. So thank you for listening. I'm Emiliana Guereca. Next week, we're going to dive deep into redistricting. What does it do? What is redistricting? Why is it a women's issue? Well, every issue is a women's issue. So join me next week, Friday, as you know. I will be on, and send me questions. Yes, I'm starting to get questions. Subscribe, follow us, share the Women's Lounge. Also, womensmarchfoundation.org, and you can get your podcasts on Spotify or Apple. That is where we are currently listed. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me. I'm Emiliana Guereca with the Women's Lounge. See you next week.